Relationship advice. Update. I, 36 male, have refused to go to the future wedding of my now ex-wife, 37 female, and it's really affecting the relationship with our kids. Original story. Thought I'd give this a chance to see if I can get some insight into my situation, as I can't see what I have done that's so wrong and what I can do to remedy it. So, we've been married 15 years, together longer and have 3 kids. She has a daughter from her first relationship who's now 18, I class her as mine. I've done everything for her, and we have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old sons. Now she was upfront and honest when we got together that she was bi, and it was never an issue last year, until she said she thought she was ultimately a lesbian and had fallen in love with her now fiancé, 35 female, and it led to a divorce as I was unwilling to open the relationship or consider a poly situation. So, we've been divorced a year, although we're still friends and have a good co-parenting relationship. Even though we're good, I still am suffering and can't say I'm even close to moving on yet. The kids live with her primarily, although I see them multiple times a week, and can say if I didn't have them, I'd have nothing. So basically, I got a call from my ex earlier on in the week saying she had to tell me something. That she's now engaged. I was shocked as hell. Basically, she said they're not going to do the typical thing and have a long engagement, they're looking at getting married as soon as lockdown has been lifted, and they're on about moving in together as soon as possible. And there's more. She said she wants to have me as her best man, as she still considers me her best friend and can't think of anyone else she'd rather have there. Suffice to say, I told her I wasn't happy with it, and said I'm not going to be her best man or don't think it's a good idea for me to be at the wedding. And definitely don't like the idea of moving someone in around my kids after a year. Now my kids love the fiancé, my kids are always talking about her. Suffice to say, she was upset and we haven't spoken since. I mean, if that was just it, then I wouldn't be that upset. I mean, in what way does going to a wedding seeing my wife marry the woman who she left me for, seems like a good idea? And to be the best man? My kids found out though, somehow, are really upset. My daughter particularly really went off, and said she thought I was better than that, and if I don't go to the wedding, she'll never talk to me again. The youngest 2 don't want to come and see me this week, and also have refused to talk to me. I'm still close and have a relationship with my in-laws, and they've also have been on my case saying I should go, especially for my kids' sake. Here's where I need help, and someone to talk to. What do I do? I mean, the last thing I want to do, is be false and go to a wedding, watching the woman who I thought I'd be with forever, marry someone else. Yet I hate the thought that my kids are suffering, and the prospect of not having them in my life, even if it's for a short while, is like torture. Help. Now for the top advice before the update. I get it. It took me 7 years to get over the hurt of my ex cheating, before I felt able to pursue another long-term relationship. So, why she or anyone thinks you should be dealing with it like a man after a year, is insane in my opinion, especially after a 15-year relationship. Your kids are old enough for you to tell them the truth about how you're feeling, and how you're unable to deal with her request, this soon after the divorce. If they can't accept your decision, then maybe use analogies they can understand about their own lives. Ultimately, stick by your guns. Your mental health is more important, and it sounds like you need to focus on your healing right now. Absolutely, I mean, I do not feel in any way, shape or form ready to start dating or get into a relationship. Yet however, she's been trying to push me to date, or even set me up with suitable women she knows. She feels guilty and thinks I would be a great catch for someone, and deserve someone who appreciates me. Which is all dandy, but I just don't want it yet. I am trying to get through to our oldest so I can talk about to her. She's 18 and the one they all look up to, and if I can at least get her to understand, then it might help the other 2 come around. I also disagree with the others. Would you tell him to go if his ex-wife asked him to be her best man, if she was going to marry another guy? No? Then what is the difference? OP has no obligation to be part of his ex marrying someone else. Wow, it's hilarious how much worse that sounds, when it really isn't any. I disagree with the previous comments. You don't have to go to a wedding when you're ex dumped, and left with unresolved emotional damage. The ex is either emotionally tone deaf, or sadistic by suggesting you be the best man, probably the former. Her decision to jump into another marriage is a major red flag. Here is the problem, it's obvious someone is turning the kids against you. Either the new spouse who jumped into their lives, or your ex. An adjusted adult would give you space to handle the situation, especially considering she's getting married so soon after a divorce. It normally takes 3 years to establish a new normal after a divorce. You're in a tough situation, you might lose your kids over this. I suggest you attend, but not be in the wedding party. Try to find a way to communicate with your kids that you're still hurt, and working to find a new normal. And now for the update. Basically, everything all moved forward today. So I basically thought it would be best to reach out to my daughter, so I messaged her along the lines of, "Hey, I know you're not talking to me now, but I think we really need to talk." To my surprise, she agreed and came over very quickly. Basically, I said to her that as she's an adult, I won't sugarcoat things now, I'm really not in a good place, and her mom getting married to her girlfriend and asking me to be best man is a bit too much for me when I'm struggling to move on with my life. She said she sort of understands, but it hit her close to home. She then came out to me as a lesbian herself. She said she's known for a while now. She told her mom/my ex a while ago, but wasn't sure how to tell me, and because of the way I reacted to the wedding, she was worried I wouldn't be able to accept it. I reassured her that I love her dearly, and I'm proud of her for being honest with me, and stressed the way I feel about her mom, and her now fiancé has nothing to do with the fact they're lesbians, but because she's my ex-wife, and I can't just turn my feelings off like that. I'd feel exactly the same if her mom was marrying a dude. We hugged it out, and she said she'd talk to her brothers, and see if she can get them to come around. Because they live with mom and see the fiancé often, they see her and love her a lot, so they don't understand. I said to her, I can't promise I'd go to the wedding eventually, but if I feel up to it, I may try, but it will be hard for me. While she was here, she FaceTimed her mom from her phone, and I got chance to talk to my ex. I basically was honest, said I feel like she blindsided me and sprung it on me without thinking about how I feel, especially putting me on the spot about making me her best man. I said the invitation to the wedding was one thing, but that was a bit too much for me. She took it all in and apologized, and admitted it's because she's all loved up, and her family are giving her all the platitudes about how happy and proud they are, so she got caught up in the moment. She asked me how I feel about it now. I said in all honesty, it's a bit too much to consider at the moment, but I definitely am not going to be her best man regardless. She understands, and said she won't expect that of me. But if I didn't want to go to the wedding itself, would I be interested in going to just the reception? I said in all honesty, I don't know if I can. And she shouldn't expect me to. She agreed and said she'll leave it to me, and will try to understand if I can, but would be made up if I can. The boys were there, so I asked if she could put them on, but they didn't want to talk to me. Honestly, that feels like a punch in the balls, so I left it there before it started me crying and she saw it, and let the daughter leave so I could be on my own. I've never liked her to see me too emotional, especially cry. So there you have it. We've all made peace as such, but there's a long way to go yet. Now for some top comments. Good for you for standing up for yourself. You have no obligation to participate in the wedding, or even to attend. Agreed. People in general already struggle with seeing their exes in person, let alone a wedding and having to see them marry someone else. She cheated and left you for her affair partner. Being a lesbian is irrelevant to the situation. Screw her. That's what was missing from the first post. It seemed like every reply just skipped over that. His ex-wife absolutely cheated on him with her, and then tried to force him to allow it. I'd have a hard time talking to her cordially, period. Don't worry OP, it isn't likely this will last either. She places no value on marriages. Yeah, the whole thing of having OP be the best man, is in no way because she still feels like he's her best friend, or any of that pish. It's so she can march him in front of all their friends and family, and prove to everyone that he is alright with what she has done. It's purely a ploy to assuage her feelings of guilt about how badly she messed him over and, ironically, she's just messing him over even more. I commend you for standing your ground and making yourself heard, and I am so glad you and your daughter have worked it out, and hopefully your sons will come around with a chat from her too. Don't be afraid to let her see you cry and see you have emotions too though. It's already caught you out once when all this started, because she didn't even think that Dad could have his own emotions and feelings about this wedding. I wish you all the luck and I really hope it all works out for you. True, I suppose, I never thought of it that way. Edit. A lot of people have said about her cheating. Whilst she did meet her now fiancé before we split, I don't believe there was physical intimacy. Possibly an emotional thing, but I don't believe they got together until we split. Edit 2. A lot of people have picked up on not showing emotion around my kids. I do show emotions around them. I'm loving, funny, affectionate, humble, etc., and I do show sadness at things like funerals, but I generally don't like them to see me cry, especially at things like this. Now for the next story. My 45 male wife, 42 female, revealed she was unfaithful and I'm divorcing her. Our children, 15 female and 17 male, hate me for it. My wife and I have been together for 18 years. We had our ups and downs, but overall, our marriage has been solid and she was my best friend. We've always been very close with our children and have raised them very much as a unit, and in turn they're very close to us. About 2 weeks ago, I brought up an advice column in the paper I had read regarding infidelity, and talked about it for a bit. And I could see she had clearly started to tear up and was attempting to hide it, so I asked her what was bothering her. She confessed that about 7 years ago, she cheated on me with a former co-worker on a business trip, and then once with him after that before breaking it off due to guilt. This was around the time she left that job for a new one, which she had told me back then was due to feeling like it wasn't a good fit, but now confesses was because she didn't want to work with him anymore. She says she never had a good reason for it, she knew it was wrong then, but gave in to the urge and nothing has ever happened since. Claims she confessed now, as she can't live with the guilt of hiding it from me. We talked about for the next 3 days when the kids were in school, while trying our best not to let them know while they were home. I realized I knew I'd never be able to let this go, nor would I be able to forgive her. She's distraught. We sat our kids down to tell them about the fact our marriage was ending. Obviously, this was extremely tough. They acted as one could expect and blame was thrown at both of us. My wife and I agreed to tell them it was mutual, but I guess guilt got the better of her again because she ends up crying and telling them not to blame me, that she betrayed my trust in the past, and just told me now, and that it's all her fault. This had the opposite effect that she intended, and now both our kids absolutely resent me for not forgiving mom and ruining our family. My wife has repeatedly tried to put blame back on herself, which only makes the kids double down and defend her more as if she's the victim. I don't want to drag their mother through the mud, so I'm trying to explain as tactfully as I can, but they're gone as far as saying that when I get my own apartment, they don't want to see me anymore and refuse my suggestion of seeing a therapist together, and reject the idea that I still plan to see them on a regular basis and be on good terms with their mother. My wife isn't helping matters as she's been an emotional wreck since I've told her of my plan to leave. I love my kids, but I don't know how to make them understand this without dragging their mother through the mud. I don't know how to assure them this has nothing to do with them, or that I'm not trying to punish or hurt their mom. I just know that I cannot get past this, and for my own happiness, I need to leave. Any suggestions on how to get them to stop seeing me as the villain would be helpful. Now for the top advice. It's such a tough situation, because as kids, being loved unconditionally by their parents and vice versa, it's so hard for them to see that your love for their mother is actually conditional. It's going to take a while for the sting to dissipate for everyone involved. Just stay level-headed around them, and always reassure them of your love for them, even when you feel like they're hating you. It's so hard for them to see that your love for their mother is actually conditional. Wow, I never thought of it that way. But blood connects the kid and parent, while a spoken agreement connects the spouses. I'm sorry that you are faced with this. I know it is very painful right now, but I am sure your kids will get over their anger toward you. You sound like a father who is trying to handle this in the best way for the kids. They will see that eventually. My sisters hated my mother when she left my father. Long story short, they have a great relationship with her now. And not with my father. All due to his actions throughout the divorce process. Keep handling this maturely and with the kids in mind, and they will be fine. Yup, this is just childish anger they are displaying. It will pass, especially with a little bit of time. And after it does, he can get them into therapy. I also think he is being passive regarding the reason behind the divorce. I'm not saying he should be shouting that she cheated off of roofs, but he should be telling family and friends why they are getting divorced. Being passive in situations like this can backfire. Divorce is always tough, brother. The kids may understand the older they get, but you know that infidelity is just more than breaking up with a girl or boyfriend. You forge a life together, and that life comes with certain unspoken expectations, fidelity being number one with a bullet. You're not wrong here. Edit, guys, I appreciate the advice. But I'm not asking on how to get past the infidelity. I've made my decision, and it's not something I'm willing to forgive. I'm looking for advice on how to handle this with my kids, and how to reassure them we can still be a family even if we aren't married. Now for the last story. After 12 years of marriage and 2 kids, my 37 female Husband, 37 male, came out as gay and we are divorcing. I am sick to death of people telling me how courageous he is, and me being expected to go along with it. Is it wrong for me to want to tell them the truth? Mark and I met in college and had a really great relationship. We dated until both of us finished law school, after which, he proposed and I gladly said yes. At the time, he was much more religious than I was, and he insisted we have kids right away, and that I stay at home with them to raise them while he worked. I had really wanted to start my practice as well, but I could see it was really important to him, so I relented, and we had 2 amazing kids and his law career really took off. I was able to work from home and hire help 3 times a week, with me still in the house, to do insurance and real estate paperwork reviews. It was something, but I had really wanted to be a litigator. I was even okay with this, and my resentment did never really show, unless Mark would remind me that stay-at-home moms should be stay-at-home moms, and not work at all. Marriage turned really bad after our second child was born 8 years ago. We basically became like unfriendly roommates. I pleaded with Mark to go to counseling with me, and he would, and things would get better for a few months, then it would go to crap. I would insist on divorce, but then he would remind me that religion does not allow divorce, so I would insist on counseling, and the cycle repeated itself more times than I can count. Then about a year ago, Mark hit me with the bombshell revelation, that he has been gay since he was a teenager. I was honestly relieved for him, because it seemed to explain so much of why he acted the way he did. Why he was distant and overcompensating with so much. I was actually very relieved that our divorce would finally come and he could live true to himself. He moved out, but it turns out he had been having an affair with his much younger partner for about 5 years. The dates on this are very sketchy, by the way, because it's very possible this man was underage when he and Mark started the affair. He certainly was when he and Mark met. I grew very resentful that I was busy working my fingers to the bone to save the marriage to appease Mark's religious sentiment, while he was off having intercourse, technically cheating on me, and violating the principles of the religion only he really cared about. Our kids are also of the age that I could have easily gone back to work, but again, I stayed at home to appease his desire to appear as the perfect Christian couple, all the while he is carrying on with a younger lover. Mark has also fought me at every turn over the divorce. He doesn't want to pay any alimony, even though it would take me years to get my career to where I could support even half the lifestyle the kids and I lead now. He wants to pay bare-bones child support, and wants the image that we split custody, but in reality, he makes the effort to see the kids once every couple of months and ignores their calls. He's a great lawyer, so even he has to know all he is doing is delaying the inevitable to make things hard on me. In all this time, he's taking sabbaticals from his firm, and taking long vacations to places like Tavarua with his boyfriend, delaying our divorce even further. It happens almost daily, and certainly weekly, where family and friends will see me at dinners, the grocery store or restaurants. We live in an old farm community that has essentially been turned into a commuter town for the city nearby, but it retains a very small town feel, and tell me how amazing they think Mark is for living true to himself, and being so courageous to finally come out. I've gone along with this because I don't want to embarrass either of us. But yesterday, I was approached by an older woman from our, old now, thank God, church who almost shamed me for keeping Mark in a relationship that he didn't want to be in. I didn't snap, but it's as close as I've come. The only people that really know how I feel are my best friend, my mom, and my counselor. Is it time that I just start telling the truth when I have one of these awkward interactions? I feel that if Mark had left me for a younger woman he'd been seeing for 5 years, everyone would be expecting me to spill the beans on what a jerk he was. Now for the top advice. I'm a gay man myself, and that's great for him that he came out, but he ruined a large portion of your life. He took up your time, your career, your emotional investments. He did all that for what? Because he was too scared to face the truth. You are justified in being furious. If my partner came out and told me he was actually straight after building his career, while I stayed at home and put my career on hold to help raise our family, the number of walls and punching bags I would want to go through. Then to turn it around in court, and not make right in how he wronged you. I honestly don't know how you haven't told people just what exactly he took from you. If he isn't there for the kids will figure it out regardless of the custody battle. Coming out doesn't make you a good parent. You are there for them and still are. You owe it to yourself to fight hard in the custody battle. You owe it to yourself to move on. You owe it to yourself to set the record straight when people praise him for being happy, while you are left in the dust. All those years he knew he was lying, and he has no respect for you. Pisses me off just reading about your situation. He's an ungrateful jerk. Someone call Karma and tell her she's hit the jackpot. You brought tears to my eyes. Thank you so much for the perfect response, not to take away from anyone else at all, but you really hit home. Honey, you have been trying to do the right thing your whole life. What has it gotten you, not including your kids? Snapping at people is wrong. You live in a smaller town, so this is how you get the real story out. You wait until the biggest gossip is around and you break down. Be pathetic, cry, allow the devastation to come out. Tell them about the years of cheating, of how he knew he was gay but married you anyway. That man cheated you out of years of your life while cheating. Let some of the stories about not seeing his kids, but having intimate vacations out. This way, you only have to tell one person and the whole community will know. P.S. Also, get some damn support. What you are going through is horrible and you are a victim. Look, even gay rights advocates call that crap out. Get your kids some therapy, and start taking charge of your life instead of being the good girl. Edit, this totally blew up as I was taking kids to school. Wow, thank you everyone. Lots of people asking the same questions which I should have clarified in the beginning. Sorry about that. 1. I have a really great lawyer as of January and he's working on it. Mark did every horrible divorce trick in the book to frustrate me into settling. It took that long for me to be able to even hire a lawyer in our area. I'm lucky in that I could represent myself in preliminary hearings which in turn, allowed a judge to nullify quite a bit of the crappy stuff Mark has done legally. Now that I'm going through it firsthand, I am absolutely going to go into divorce when I do finally work. I've always heard, but I'm appalled at how the dirty tricks can affect people's lives. 2. I'm not out to ruin him. Which is thus far why I haven't spread the talk of his affair. I don't think most people know that he cheated on me. And even if they do, they seem to be more impressed with his coming out. I rationalize that ruining him is not in my kids or my best interest. 3. Lots of great tips and I really appreciate every comment. This was way bigger than I thought and I'm reading all of them. Thank you. Edit 2, just realized I could edit after the lock. This is my first gold, thank you so much, this has been amazing at all the support I've gotten. I don't even know how many private messages I've gotten since the lock, and how many people have gone through this, or had relatives to through this. Things will be static for a while, but when there is news, I will post an update. Right now, I'm going to go hug my kids, because even with all the crap, I never would have had them without Mark in my life, and they are my 2 favorite people in the world. Thank you again. And edit 3, I forgot to type this as I was just going to bed. The whole reason I came here was to know how to respond to our acquaintances when they approach me about it being so great Mark came out. This is basically going to be my go-to response. I'm happy that Mark finally had the courage to live true to himself, but divorces are always sad, and unfortunately ours is no different. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.